More than once, Holly recalled a phrase her grandmother had told her mother. "Don't worry, you'll meet another good man. If he loves you, he'll love your daughter too." Granny was right, but only in one respect. Her mother found a man, but he did not become an affectionate and loving father for Holly. The stepfather constantly nagged and reproached her and tried to burden Holly with as much housework as possible, without even trying to find something to praise her for. At first the girl silently tolerated this attitude, but as she grew older, she attempted to defend herself and thus provoked more anger from the man. Her mother was afraid of being left without a husband, so she did not react to her daughter's complaints. When Holly was in her last grade, her mother got pregnant. The stepfather was happy. "That's good news, especially since we have a good nanny to look after the baby. You should give birth to a boy, because one girl is enough for us." The mother looked at her daughter pleadingly, but she just silently left the room. At night, Holly cried again from resentment, not understanding why she deserved such treatment. She was clearly no worse than the other girls of her age, and even better at school, and they, unlike Holly, were always cheerful and happy. Holly graduated from high school with honours, but even in this case, instead of praise, the smug stepfather only reminded the girl of her responsibilities. "You see, I was right to make you work hard. Don't relax. You'll soon be taking care of your little brother." But Holly had no intention of putting up with it any more. She had realised long ago that her stepfather would not allow her to study further, and she would have to be a maid in his house and a babysitter for the rest of her life. The same day, the girl packed her things and left for another city, leaving her mother a farewell letter. Holly had long dreamed of linking her life with medicine, so in the city, thanks to the knowledge she gained at school, she was able to enroll in nursing schools and get a room in the dormitory. During phone conversations, her mother constantly begged her to return, but just the memory of the hated stepfather discouraged all Holly's desire to see her mother and little brother. In the city, the girl catastrophically lacked money, and so she occasionally worked as a nurse in a nursing home. Unfortunately, after a year, the girl was forced to take an academic leave to save money to continue her studies. But there was a problem with housing because she had to move out of the dormitory. The situation seemed hopeless, but then a colleague named Mrs. Brooke offered her an option. "Okay, do not cry. Instead, marry my son Gary and come live with us. Come, I'll introduce you." Gary was already sitting in the waiting room. He was a short, plump, balding man in his 40s. At the sight of Holly, he awkwardly jumped up and smiled, revealing a row of uneven yellow teeth. Holly involuntarily recoiled and ran out of the hospital in front of a surprised Mrs. Brooke. She tiredly sat down on a bench and again sank into her sad thoughts. Suddenly she noticed a newspaper left by someone nearby. She wanted to throw it away, but she noticed an advertisement for a nurse who would live with an elderly woman. Holly grabbed the newspaper and, after carefully reading the content of the ad, immediately called. For a long time, Benjamin was hesitant to make this decision, but he had no other choice. His frequent trips to his mother had a negative effect on his work, and he had heard rumours that the director intended to find someone else for his position. In addition, his wife and newly born child also lacked attention. The man had a hard time deciding to trust a stranger to take care of his sick mother, but it was the only way out of this difficult situation. Benjamin placed an ad in the local newspaper, and, to his surprise, the phone began to burst with calls. But the soulless applicants for the position of caregiver, primarily interested in the amount of pay, not the state of health of the patient. Completely desperate, Benjamin had already regretted the ad, but then the phone rang again. The man did not want to talk, but without knowing why, he picked up the phone. "Hello, I saw your ad in the newspaper. came a worried female voice. "Is your offer still valid?" "Yes," answered Benjamin tiredly. "Could you tell me more about the patient?" Surprised, Benjamin immediately arranged a meeting with the applicant in a cafe to discuss all the details. Seeing Holly for the first time, he noticed her sad and serious appearance and bruises under her eyes. But her tired eyes shone with kindness and inexhaustible vitality, and Benjamin liked that. During the entire conversation, the girl never once asked about money. She was more interested in the patient's condition and what kind of care she needed. Seeing this, Benjamin was pleased. 2 years passed. Benjamin's mother's condition was much better. She was able to move around the house on her own, leaning on a stick. The apartment was clean and orderly, and a caring nurse strictly monitored the observance of the patient's regime of taking medications, which the poor woman could just forget about before. The doctor also noted the positive dynamics in the patient's health, and soon Benjamin sold his apartment and bought a house, where he moved his mother. Holly, although she could no longer care for the elderly woman, continued to be friends with her and Benjamin. She eventually graduated from nursing school and got a job at the hospital where she had once worked. Then she met a young man and married him. Holly's mother often called her and invited her to the house in the same sad voice, but Holly really had no time. One day she finally visited her mother with her husband. Her home hardly changed at all. Her mother had turned grey early. Her brother was too quiet, and her stepfather grumbled and cast unkind glances. Holly could not endure more than 1 day there, and left for her quiet life, where she was loved and respected.